Welcome back to another YouTube video. I'm gonna run through some updates with you guys. We're gonna get a quick lift in, and then we're gonna get into the main topic of this video. So the quick update side of everything, just how reverse dieting is going in terms of my mental, my physical, how I'm feeling in terms of hunger, my strength as well, and then a quick little cycle update for you guys. So in terms of hunger, I'm not gonna lie, hunger is kicking my ass right now. Some days I'm really good and I'm not feeling like bingy or I don't wanna eat a bunch. So those days are great. It's just the other days, hunger kicks my ass. I'm not gonna lie, the last 3 days, it's been really bad. But outside of that, we're doing pretty good. We have not binge ate anything. We've been on our plan 90 to 95% of the time. Again, the only things that I'm eating that are extra are just extra rice cakes, the occasional protein bar, protein Pop-Tart. But other than that, we're doing pretty good, especially for the very first reverse dieting. I'm pretty happy with how things are going. One thing I did want to talk about is just kind of what has helped me through this reverse significantly, like kill the binge eating that I wanted to do, kill the cravings really quick. There's this concept in theory that a lot of people talk about post-show where you do like 4 or 5 nights where you just have a free meal every single night post-show, whatever you want. And then that following Monday, you just get back onto your plan. You do what you're meant to do. You just get back to it. That way, that first week, you kill a lot of those cravings and a lot of the hunger. Like you shoot up your carbs and everything. And that's the thing is like you're just craving fats, but more so just carbs and just food in general. So that was one thing that I did that I would say helped massively. So week 2, I was able to get back on plan. I had no issues. Everything was perfect. Everything was great. And then now what I'm doing is I'm doing 2 free meals a week, where one free meal is a healthy free meal, where it's just a healthier option. And then on Friday or Saturday, I'll have a free meal of whatever I want, burger and fry, Mexican food, a burrito. I don't know. Those are just examples of like how I'm structuring it. And honestly, it's helping me a lot. So we're at 226 this morning, I believe. So that puts us back up 2 pounds from last week. But we're holding everything really well. I'm really happy with how we're looking structurally and how we're rebounding and everything. So I can't complain. We should be happy with everything. Our food got bumped up again. So I think in the next video or 2, we'll do a full day of eating, show you guys how what we're eating on reverse diet, and kind of go from there. But in line with food, we'll talk about strength. My strength this week has been like skyrocketing. It's been absolutely insane. It's like last week I did 185 on a chest press, and then this week I did like 275. Strength is just continuously going up and lifts are getting better and better. And intensity is also increasing with every single lift. So that's all going to translate just overall and compound and give us a better look whenever we do go to do our next cut and show, which we have show dates. I don't know if I'm going to announce it yet or kind of keep it a secret for a little bit, but we already have our next 2 shows picked, lined up. One's going to be us getting on stage to qualify to go to nationals, and then the next show is going to be us at nationals. So we're going to be stepping on the stage for nationals next year, shooting for the pro card. I'm very, very freaking excited. I think I'm going to keep it a secret for a little bit, and then we'll announce it eventually. But we do have show days picked out for next year, and I'm not going to lie, I'm amped. I'm stoked. I love competing now. I'm addicted. I got the bug. And then finally, our last quick little topic is going to be our cycle. This is a topic I keep going back and forth mentally about, whether I want to keep these in the series and talk about them or if I just want to cut them out completely. I just don't want younger audiences to find these videos at some point or watching them now and then try to replicate them. Not even just like a younger audience, but just more so people who are heavily influenced by social media. I just don't want to be like, oh, this is what I'm running, and then someone tries to replicate it in their own manner, and then they, whatever it may be, they fuck themselves up somehow or some way, and I don't want that to happen. I don't think it'll happen. Some people would argue that at the end of the day, me saying what I'm on is just like the educational standpoint of like being transparent with you guys. And if someone chooses to replicate it, 1, that's not smart, but 2, that was like their decision. But then it kind of comes back to like I somewhat impacted them to try and replicate it. I don't think it will happen, but it's just one thing I just take a precautionary about and like make sure it does not happen. But so this will probably be actually one of the last times I do kind of just touch base on this topic. So post-show, we pulled everything but the test and the Arimidex, and we kept the same dosage of test that we were on throughout prep for these last couple of weeks. And then same with we kept the ADEX in. And then now we just pulled down the test to a TRT dose and then pulled out the ADEX. And then moving forward, we already have kind of like a somewhat of a plan for what the off-season cycle is going to be. I'm very excited about it, and then kind of just see how we respond and react and grow off of all of it. But again, I don't want anyone trying to replicate what they hear from me. Just know I'm not natural. But outside of the topic of cycles and PEDs and all of that stuff, I'm still going to be open, transparent, honest, and I'm going to continue to be one of the most honest people that I can be, especially in terms of social media and with my platforms, and just being honest with your audience and sharing my experiences with you guys. And that's what I want to do, is I want to share my experiences with you guys to inspire you guys and make as much of an impact on you guys as I can. But then our last update, and then we're going to go with this lift in. Mentally, we still don't have post-show blues. We still don't have post-show depression. So we're doing really good. I think a lot of it has just been doing this series and bringing you guys along with me and just keeping up with filming these every single week, just to share these moments with you guys. And then also just what I'm doing with the notebook. And I think on top of both of those as well is just keeping myself busy in terms of just trying to make content, working with clients, bringing on clients, doing everything that I can to just keep busy, keep my mind busy, and keep active and stay productive. I think whenever you cut all of that out is where a lot of people do get that post-show depression and the post-show blues. Is you go from like this super high productivity rate in prep to like nothing. So you'll probably feel lazy and, down in the dumps. And I almost said estrogen. What's the dopamine, serotonin plummets, and then before you know it, you got post-show blues. So, but that's it for the updates. I wanted to try to make this as quick as possible so we can get to the main portion of this video. So we're gonna go quickly get this lift in. We have a back session today, and then, like I said, we're gonna get into the main part of this video. Welcome to the main part of the video of how prep affected our relationship. Okay, so we're gonna give a little backstory of us, who we are, how we met, and then get into prep and how it affected our relationship. So we've been together for about a year and a half now, a little over a year and a half. We met actually in Tennessee. I came up on behalf of the supplement company I was with, and Claire ended up going to the same supplement event where we had a booth, and I saw her. I was like, wow, that girl's really cute. I'm not gonna do anything though because I'm here on business, standing on business.
And I made a move because he wasn't going to.
You're jumping ahead of the story. Anyways, she was over in the there was another company, I don't want to say the name, but she was in their line, and I was like, all right, well, she's cute, but I'll probably never get to talk to her. Her and her friend circle back around, they come to our booth. I was like, oh, it's go time. Would you like a sample of this pre-workout? Fuck, I fucked it up. Damn it, dude. Why did I go with that one? That was actually the first thing I said to her. They're like, yeah, we would love to. Claire's like, God, you're so big and jacked and cute. And
exactly what I said, actually. I proposed to him on the spot.
Yeah, I said no because I was like, well, we're rushing into things here. So anyways, her and her friend hung out for a little bit. There was a bench press competition. I partook in it. She grabbed my camera and filmed for me, and I was like, this is my wife. She actually had her camera there too, and we talked about cameras. But they had to leave, and she's like, oh, what are you guys doing for the rest of the night? And I was like, well, we might be doing like a team dinner or something. She's like, oh, if you guys aren't busy, well, we're gonna go out in downtown later if you wanna come out with us. I was like, yeah, I'll have to let you know. She's like, let me get your number. So she got my number. Anyways, that is how we met. We basically started dating right off the bat. Would you say we didn't?
No, I would say we would. It's a key factor that I was really big into bodybuilding at the time. I was 2 or 3 weeks out when I met him, and that was kind of our binding point in our connection was the gym, although he was a powerlifter at the time and I was still bodybuilding. 3
days after talking, I booked a ticket to go visit her back up here in Tennessee. And then I came up visit her in Tennessee in July, right after her birthday in June. And then she came and visited me in Texas when I was living there at the time in August. And then a month later, she moved to Texas.
Really smart.
Yeah, she moved like midway through September. And the moment she moved, it was like we basically went from long distance to marriage. Like I pretty much moved in right off the bat. Luckily, her roommate, or I guess our roommate at the time, because I moved in, was okay with me basically moving in and being there with them all the time. So we jumped a big gap in relationships, which is the dating phase. We skipped the whole foundation part that you build your relationship off of.
We skipped the entire process.
Yeah, we went straight to marriage. There was just no ring.
Basically. But it worked. We could be together all the time and we were fine.
The end of 2022 was when I did my first powerlifting meet, and we all went down to Houston and everything. And then after my powerlifting meet, there was just like this whole thing of I kind of became, I guess, depressed but didn't realize it. I ended up hating lifting in general. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to literally do nothing with my life. And at the time, like Claire was saying, she was really big into bodybuilding, and so was her roommate. So I started going to the gym with them and doing their lifts. And that gave me like a newfound love for lifting because I wasn't powerlifting. It was more of like a bodybuilding structure and everything. So I started to see the lifestyle of bodybuilding that they were doing. And then that ended up leading me into bodybuilding, which I ended up starting getting with my coach, Will hitting the camera. I ended up getting with my coach in February or March. So I got with Tyler Betson then, and then that's how I started to get into bodybuilding. We literally chose a show right off the rip. It was just like, all right, we're gonna do Battle of Texas end of the year because we were living in Texas at the time. And around this time, Claire started to fall out of love with bodybuilding, and she was just having a really bad time with it. It was just like, because she was wellness, and to be competitive in wellness, you need size, and coming with size, you need to eat a lot. And because our vicious cycle was constantly getting high, and we were not very happy, like we were definitely depressed, it made it very hard for her to eat.
I was eating maybe once a day, and I don't think I ever lied. No, I started lying about what weight I actually was in my check-ins because I was
embarrassed. Which is a really bad thing to do. If you are a client, do not do that. Tell your coaches, then they can make the proper adjustments.
I just never did bodybuilding. I went right into a prep because I had the muscle foundation from riding to do so. And then I did great in prep, did a show, it was great. And then after my show, I started binge eating. I was lying about my weight there. I just never I can't name 1 week, which I've never said this, but there's not a week outside of prep where I actually followed all my meals or ate everything I was supposed to or did everything to a T.
Surprise, Laura.
Never in my life.
I know Tyler watches all my videos.
It's obvious with my eating habits now, but that led into inconsistency and then excuses and then never eating, and I still don't eat. Mm-hmm. And now I'm more so okay with it because I'm not trying to be a wellness competitor, I'm not competing, I'm not bodybuilding. But I don't think I actually ever had the genuine love for bodybuilding that I thought I did. I think it was like a filler for horses. And it was fun, and I don't regret it, but I don't see myself going back to that. But that was also like when Schuyler got really into bodybuilding, especially when prep started, we kind of switched. And this big connection that we used to have that was the gym wasn't there because I didn't do the gym anymore, and that wasn't something that we did together anymore. Yeah.
So before saying something about that, she ended up no longer bodybuilding because she was jumping around between so many jobs. She threw the idea out of possibly moving back home to Tennessee, and
there was nothing for me in Texas anymore.
Yeah, and she kind of was just like, well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna stay here? Or are you gonna come with me? Or she was she encouraged for me to do whatever I wanted to do. She wasn't you have one option and we're done. If I wanted to stay in Texas, it would have sucked and we would have made it work. But I was like, well, if you decide that you want to do that, fuck it, I'll move. There's nothing tying me to one spot, which I love. I'm very thankful for that. And it was probably 3 days later, I was having lunch with my aunt because she had a layover in Dallas. And while we're eating, Claire calls me, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna take this 1 second. So I stepped outside, and Claire calls me, and she's just like, I'm done. She's like, I'm moving back. I was like, all right, let's do it. So she moved back in 2 weeks from that phone call, and then I moved 2 weeks after that.
You moved a month. It was a month.
It was a month. I moved a month after she did. So luckily we had a friend who let us stay in their place until we ended up getting our place of our own. This leads us now into prep. When I started doing my prep, and this is the part where she fell out of love with bodybuilding. And because of that big foundation that we had of bodybuilding that broke off, the biggest thing with relationships is you're never always going to feel the way that you did in the beginning, or like what you initially may have fallen in love with them for. The key to like keep having a successful and a healthy relationship is, as you guys grow together, you need to find new ways to fall in love with that person, because people, like, we're humans. She's human. Like, I'm always going to be changing. She's always going to be changing the things she does, the things that she likes, dislikes. Like, it's just how humans are. Like, we evolve, we grow, we change. So it's just like finding new ways to fall in love with that person. That is, like, I would say the biggest key to a healthy relationship, and like a long lasting one.
We're at when
Prep
you started
starting.
prep, so August. Well,
first 10 weeks were great. Like, we were doing stuff. I was like out here riding horses with her. We were going out on the boat with her dad. We were, we went out downtown a couple of times, but I never went off my meal plan. I was still on it.
It's pretty easy. I was working downtown at the time too.
Yeah. But yeah, the first 10 weeks, phenomenal. They were actually doing pretty good. We had some like bumps whenever whenever I first did NPP, I didn't know how like I felt off of it. And there was just something that was said, and I kind of just reacted like that.
Testy a couple times,
you're a little
but it
testy,
wasn't
sweetheart.
anything like concerning or anything crazy. It was just like,
Yeah.
he's in prep, he's probably a little bit hungry, and he also started drugs. It was
Yeah.
understandable.
So 10 weeks out from my show, which was December 2nd, if you want to do the math, help yourself. I started using Tren, and this is where like actually all of our problems.
It wasn't like that was the only changing variable. It was, he started Tren, I got a new job, I was out of downtown, but while I loved this job, it quickly went from 3 days a week to 6 or 7. And
So you went from like 30 hours a week to 70 like that.
it was very quick, but I loved the job, so it was hard to say no to working extra and like setting up my boundaries. But in all of that, he got shorter. We stopped communicating as much, partly because I was never home. I left at 5 a.m. and I came home at 7 p.m. and he was going to bed. Literally, he was eating his last meal at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And he was like ready for bed. So any chance that we could have had to communicate or talk or like be a couple wasn't there, because I'd get home and he'd be like ready to go to bed. And I was like, okay, I'll just eat my dinner in the kitchen. It was lonely. It became very isolated for both of us, I think.
Yeah, and then that 10 weeks out is when I started to implement it, and then we ended up having like our first actual like big fight, where we found out we had a lot of like built up problems that we never discussed with one another because our communication.
It was coming. I mean, prep, I keep saying that I'm not upset about all the issues that it caused. We're both more so thankful for prep, I'd say, because it did bring out a lot of issues that needed
Stuff that we never brought up across like a year of being together, that we kind of like was like, oh yeah, like I can look past that.
Right.
But it like ended up just building up something in us. So I would say probably like 2 weeks after that, maybe 3, Claire moved out.
I moved back into my mom's, which I love my mom. I am staying at my mom's.
Her mom is the
because
sweetest woman ever.
I love
her to
living with
death.
her. And my horses are at my mom's, so it's just easier to be able to be at the place that I would drive to every day anyways.
Yeah. So that happened, and this was like when I really was starting to like get deeper in prep, and the trend was really in my system. And I
You were
didn't.
6 weeks out?
I was probably
Yeah.
5 to 6 weeks out, and at this point, in the moment, I didn't realize how much trend affected me. Like I was like, oh, it's fine. Like I'm not any different as a human. But looking back on it, it's not who I ever want to be again. I was so, what's the word? Like unsympathetic. Like
Emotionless?
I was emotionless. Like I did not care about anything. Like if we fought or something was going bad, I was just like, okay. Like normally I would be like freaking out, I'd be like, no, like let's talk this through, like let's get through this. But in the moment, like with Trent, I was just like, okay, which really sucked.
He was also not, he's usually before prep, he was the one that was very touchy-feely and cuddly and everything.
My love language.
Yes, touch is definitely his love language. And then before prep, I was more so like less touchy as him. I had gotten better being with him, but I've never been a super touchy or like lovey-dovey person. And throughout prep, when I would try like to cuddle or to like spend time together, and it wasn't my efforts. What am I trying? I'm not trying to say that it was your fault every time. I'm trying to say that sometimes when I would try to be touchy or whatever, or just be like cuddly or lovey-dovey, whatever in prep, in those last 6 weeks, I don't think we cuddled like more than like twice. We didn't like.
It was like very short too, because we'd start cuddling and I'd be like, oh, I need to get up and drink water, or like, oh, I need to get up and eat a meal. Or in the morning
at 6 a.m. if I was off work or I didn't have to go until later or whatever, I would try to like spend more time and cuddle in bed or whatever, and he would be, I have to get up right now, like I'm leaving. And it was heartbreaking to lose. When you lose like an emotional connection, that is heartbreaking, but I don't think that hits you as quickly as realizing that you're losing your physical connection.
Yeah.
Because once that's gone, it's like you're relying on your emotional connection, but then he didn't have emotions. So it was like, we kind of lost it all in those like last 6 weeks.
Yeah, and because of that, we had no communication. We just
stopped talking.
Claire wrote, "Trend equals lack of care." Yeah, we had no communication. We literally never talked or hung out really. There was no intimacy or connection. We had resentment towards one another. I grew like resentment towards like her and horses and stuff, because that's all she ever had her time around. It was just like, I never saw her, which I mean, I get now. You probably had resentment towards bodybuilding and stuff too at the time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then we fast forward to 3 weeks out, which was, she came over to grab some of her stuff, and we somehow got on the topic of like talking about what's going to happen with our relationship. And we both thought that after the show was done, we were going to break up.
Yeah. There was just nothing there. Like we both cried. We're sitting on the couch crying, like.
I was shocked that I cried for having no emotions.
That was good.
Yeah.
We both knew that it wasn't healthy. We probably in our right mind should break up, but both of us were like, we're not ready to break up. But I also was like, I don't want to make this decision while you're this deep in prep and I'm working this job and we haven't even been communicating. Let's like wait. And our idea was that we would wait until after the show to have the same conversation of all the difficult topics that we had discussed and see if our answers changed when he wasn't on trend, when he wasn't starving, when I wasn't overworking, etc.
Yeah, it was like most of the topics of like, do we see a future together anymore? Like, do we still have like the same connection? Like, is this something that we can work through and, you know, build up? And being that deep in prep, and also I would say Trent is the biggest issue that it was. Having all of that going on with me was not a fair conversation for me to have, nor her, because it wouldn't have been fair on either of us, because I was definitely not in the right headspace to have that kind of conversation. It would have ended bad if we had that conversation right then and there. But we both were like, wow, we're going to break up. But and then she's like, I'm not ready to. And I was like, I'm not either. So let's just ride this out. So we wrote it out for like, I would say the last 2 weeks kind of flew by. After we had that talk, it like kind of flew by, I think, because we cleared a lot of things up that was like just kind of lingering. And then Wednesday, before my show, was it Wednesday we left? Did we leave Wednesday?
We left Thursday morning.
We left
4 a.m.
Thursday at 4 a.m. So we went to Texas, and the entire drive, we had our friend Wesley with us at the time too. So
shout out Wesley.
Shout out Wesley. She made the trip all around better through both of us, especially because we did have like, I guess still not really like awkward tension, but like there was still some tension. So the entire way there, and then actually I stopped Trent on Wednesday, and then we left for Thursday. And then for some reason, I don't know how Trent leaves your body or how fast, but I started like feeling normal again. I would say closer towards like that night. It was like we had was the meeting that night too? Or was that Friday?
The athlete meeting?
The athlete meeting, was that Friday?
Friday.
I started feeling normal again. Like I didn't feel...
Like
the way I felt mentally was like, the best way I can describe it is like there's a bunch of fog in your head from the trend, and like looking back I see it, and then whenever I came off of it, it was just like it all cleared up, and like I felt like myself again. And we ended up going to the gym for my final lift, and it was just like we were having fun, joking around. Like I was being touchy again and like hugging on her, and
I was upset because Schuyler was being super touchy, super lovey, like coming over, watching me, getting my weights for me, like all these things that he would have done like months ago when we were doing really good. And yes, that's nice that like that was back, but I wasn't okay with it because nothing had been talked about, nothing had been said. We hadn't talked in the entire car ride up, and then all of a sudden we're at the gym and we're back in Texas, and like people that know him are seeing him and like seeing that we're really good. And I was upset because I was like, but that's not how we have been. Like it felt like to me that it was just being put on as like this show that like we're back in Texas, and a lot of people know Schuyler from there and from AR and from that whole community, and it it wasn't being portrayed as how it had been, and so I was upset.
From my perspective, I was not doing it as like a show. It was just like I felt normal again, which
Yeah.
I see from your perspective how like that could have been taken. Also for you, like you felt normal with your hormones the entire time where I didn't. So like for you, it went 0 to 100 like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was just like I went through like a fever dream and like I just woke up and I was like, oh, nothing ever, like, oh, we're back. So we ended up leaving the gym, and then on the way back to the Airbnb, we didn't really like have a fight.
I don't know what, something happened where you tried to hold my hand and I like took it away, or something happened to where you had to ask like what's wrong.
No, I was trying to talk to you and you kept being short and quiet, and I was like, what's wrong? And she was just like, nothing. I was like, I'm not stupid. Like, I know how to read you. Like, something's wrong. And Wesley, God bless her, she was in the back seat.
She is a therapist.
She literally,
she actually is a couples therapist.
Yeah, and Claire ended up was just like, oh, like, fuck it. Like, Wesley, I don't care if she hears this. And then
yeah, she was going to hear it either way.
Yeah,
like,
we had like, not really, I don't know if I'd call it a fight.
It wasn't a fight. It was literally a therapeutic session. Like,
Yeah.
we had to say some really
Like
hurtful things,
everything
but
she just said basically of like how it was throughout prep, and like it seemed like a show in the gym, came out and she said all that, and then we kind of like went back and forth. And then Wesley kind of stepped in. She let us talk, like go back and forth for quite some time, and then she stepped in, and we had like a,
like, do you mind if I say something?
and then we had like a therapeutic session with her for like 20 minutes in the car. And the one thing that really stuck with me was what she said about saying sorry.
Sorry without a change in action is only manipulation.
Yes. So that really stuck with me. But then she was just like, because again, like, but one of our big issues was not really like aligning a future. Like, I didn't really see the same future she did. And I think a lot of it was just like resentment and stuff too. So she's just like, after this show, like, we'll talk about it. You guys need to figure all that out. But in the meantime, like, we're here. Let's just have a good time. And then we ended up going to Airbnb because I was like, I need to make one last meal. Let's take this inside. And I had to go to bed. They kind of hung out for the rest of the night. Claire found a big ass cockroach. We jumped between 3 Airbnbs.
Terrifying.
We had my show on Saturday, and everything was, I would say, better than good. Like, everything was great. Had the show, had really good placings. I was happy with how it all went. Had some food and everything with everybody. We had burgers, crumble. We went to Walmart and grabbed a bunch of stuff and stuffed my face. I felt like a human again. And I genuinely felt like a human because I had carbs, I had fats, I had sugars, like I had everything in my system. I was off trend, I was off all this stuff. I felt like myself. And then we went to bed Saturday. We woke up Sunday. And then I'd say like we had a good morning. And we went to go get cronuts. Phenomenal. First time ever having them. Highly recommend them. And then out of nowhere, she just kind of like got quiet. And I knew something was wrong. And then we ended up talking, but she was just anxious.
I was just super anxious on Sunday. I don't know if it was just like that the weekend had been a lot, or there were a lot of different emotions and a lot of things had changed, and there was a lot of different people we were seeing, and I was overwhelmed. But I just was probably the most anxious I've ever been on Sunday. Long story short, I just really needed a good hug and to be told that it was okay. I don't know what was going on. I still don't know why I was so anxious that day, or something triggered it or whatever. But I just really needed a good hug, and I followed Schuyler to the room, and we were kind of talking, and I just like told him I needed a hug, and he gave me this half-ass hug. It was the worst hug he's ever given, because Schuyler gives really good hugs.
No.
You said something that you're embarrassed about it, but I'm gonna say
I said some like terrible thing. I was just like,
he said he didn't want me to dampen.
I was like, you're dampening the mood.
Gave me this really terrible hug and was like, I just want to he just like basically just didn't want to stop and give a good hug. Like he was just going so fast, and he just like, I don't know where I was going with that, but I just wanted to preface that it didn't just go from like 0 to 100, and we've been like perfect ever since.
No, and then there was that, and then I mean, she kind of told me, and I was just like, okay, well, you need your space or whatever, like go through the emotions that you need to, and then nothing really ever happened on Sunday, and then Monday we left, we drove back, it was a good time, and then we kind of got back, and we didn't initially have like our conversation, we just kind of like living our lives again, and then started implementing the things that we did talk about implementing again, to where it's like we have our own spaces. It's like I have the apartment, she lives at her mom's. It's like this allows me to be like, hey, we're gonna go on a date here, or hey, I'm gonna come over, hey, do you want to come over? So it's like we started implementing those things, and then we also started implementing more of like the whole concept of if we have an issue, bring it up. Like it does no good to sit there and like bury it down, because we learned that from the big fight that caused us a lot of these things where she moved out. And so I'd say we started implementing a bunch of those things, and then that's where like we really started to strengthen our relationship day by day. And then probably like 2 or 3 weeks after the show is whenever we kind of like talked more so of like the future of how we kind of see things going. Like if our futures align, and kind of like finding like a middle ground of like what I want and like what she wants. I'd say we found a really good middle ground. And now we're better than ever. Recap, prep, good or bad? I would say bad in the terms of trend and how it affected me, because I do not like the person that I was on it, and how it affected our relationship and what you went through, which I feel really bad. I don't ever want to put Claire through that again, so I don't ever want to touch a trend again. But I would say good in the terms of how it affected our relationship, of making us now stronger. Like we communicate better, we enjoy the time together a lot more. Claire talked about it earlier whenever you said like how I used to be like always touchy feely and like all these things, to where like it was stripped away and it was completely gone. And now she told me that she appreciates that stuff more than ever. So
Yeah, I think I took a lot of how great of a person Schuyler is for granted, because he's always just treated me like the best that you could even imagine, better than any boyfriend I've ever heard of, or he's treated me the best in the entire world. And then prep happened, and I think that was a wake-up call for me as well, just in the fact that he didn't treat me as well as he previously had been, and I had definitely taken a lot of those actions for granted, and I think that I deserve that as well, because now I'm very much more appreciative of them, and I'm more touchy-feely.
Yeah, which
finally,
since I'm like my love language is like touch, I appreciate it a lot more. But how would your recap, prep, good or bad?
I think it was good. I mean, yeah, it sucked. But I would just say that it was good because now you know that you don't want to run trend again. I'd say that like if you hadn't run trend the first time, we would have still had some issues for sure. I may or may not have moved out, who knows, but it probably still would have been a little rocky because prep is still prep. But you probably would still maybe want to run trend because you wouldn't know the effects yet, and like it is a very beneficial drug if you use it correctly, so the temptation would still be there. So yeah. I would say that it's good overall because we learned a lot, and I think next time will be better.
I think next prep will be significantly better.
It'll feel like a breeze compared to this last prep.
Yeah, this next prep is going to be a little bit shorter. I don't want to touch trend, so that'll not be in the mix. So it'll be a lot better. I'm also going to go in with more experience of understanding like how prep is and how I feel off of it, because I know like now when of like which weeks I start to kind of not be as energetic and like am able to do a whole lot of things. That was our lovely Christmas story about how prep almost ruined our relationship, and how we're now better than ever. A little Pookie bear. And I think that's it. You have anything else you want to add or no?
No.
Alrighty, that's gonna be it from us. You guys finally saw Claire again, so you can stop asking me.
I don't like being in front of the camera, to be fair.
That's also the
I get really awkward and I don't really talk. So
yeah, she also doesn't always care to be in front of the camera. So you can stop asking me where Claire's been and if we're still dating, because the answer is yes, and she's right here. She may or may not be in videos here and there. She probably will be occasionally. So that's gonna be it. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.